What up? This thing, it doesn't tell you when it starts, so I feel like you spend the first couple of seconds just kind of looking crazy. Um, what up? This is Billy, and I'm live. Um, it's saying hang on. I'm gonna just jump in. Um, First off, I'm in the office today. I am not outside. You can tell that. And this is the office, by the way. Let me pull this off. This is the office. We got our water bottle. Sheba works at there, and the couch and the fridge. Sheba does in she works in the closet, so when it's over, she can just close the closet and just be done with it. That is the office. Oh, did I show you my desk, yo? Here is my desk. This is where I get my stuff done. Okay. Let me jump on. All right. See if I can put that on. Today I wanted to jump into something, man. This thing called a concept called human flourishing. It's a phrase that like you don't hear about. Nobody really talks about human flourishing ever. And I think it's a shame. I think we've been robbed of that as a value. Some cultures in the past have called it like eudaimonia. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but it means it's like a self-actualization, self-fulfillment, psychological self-actualization, and social. So self-fulfillment in the context of a larger community. We're all parts of a larger community. So how can we each be our best and fullest selves? Hey, what's up, Deja? What up? What up, Angelica? I think we've been robbed of this as a concept, and it's weird how societies develop, right? Because so we're in this age of all these new things popping off all the time, these new cryptocurrencies and NFTs, and Jeff Bezos is going to space, and so there's all this attention and energy and innovation, new language is being created all the time in these spaces, in these new financial instruments and new things to garner our attention, and for new markets and trading to occur. Going up in space, new innovation to create commercial interstellar travel. All that's happening, and at the same time, something like human fulfillment is not being developed, right? And I think that's pretty nutty and strange. And so it's weird because it's at a time when we all want to feel fulfilled. We're all trying to figure this out, and it's rough because we don't have this language that we can all meet at and talk about. And how can we change that? Instead of that, what am I seeing a lot? I wonder if people can attest to this. Like, in terms of people's thinking about like what does it mean? Why are we here? What is life about? People talk a lot about like chasing the bag. Like, we're here to get the bag. We're chasing that bag. We are. The whole point is to kind of not fumble the bag. Once you get it, if and when you get it. And I just want to challenge that for a second because, there's a lot of challenges with that. There's some difficulties, right? First off, it's an external goal. It's this external thing. It's vague. It's like a bag. It's like, what dollar amount is that? You know what I'm saying? I've had bags. I've done projects that are this, that, and the other thing. It's like, are you ever complete with it? Can you ever achieve a fulfillment with that? Reach the bag that finishes it all? It obviously it's materialistic. It's about, obviously it's like you get the bag in an effort to then purchase some other things, these trappings. And I think it produces weird choices. You know what I'm saying? So like, there's all these techniques. Like I said, you put your energy towards it and all these new innovations happens. And so we have these techniques to try to get the bag, right? And Instagram's a great example of it with the paid sponsorships and the things you can do with the content. And it just produces, like, producing content, and it benefits someone, right? Like, who benefits from that? Like this effort to attract corporate sponsorship. You know what I mean? To buy like corporate products, place it in our things independently, tag it, try to attract the corporations themselves who might come back, and it's like they're like, ooh, like they didn't even. They're like, this is crazy. They're doing this. They're like, it's, to me, it's a technique that develops, that doesn't do what human flourishing can do. It's actually the exact opposite quite often. It's limiting. It's limiting in terms of, what if you never get the bag? What if the bag is not something that you achieve in a lifetime? Are you still valuable? Do you still have value? How would you think about yourself if that's the goal? And it's like this elusive thing. Exactly. Paper chase, Steve. If that's the goal and it's so elusive, it escapes you. Can you still think of yourself as a person with value? And so I think you can, but it takes, you have to think about the entire experience of life differently, or you can get stuck with this anxiety. It's a completely fake, kind of self-imposed, maybe not self-imposed, it's society-imposed anxiety, So, and it just, it's worth like thinking about it that way and saying, how can I set up my own values, so that I'm not, laboring under this intense desire to do something external of myself, and still see my value. And so I think one of the big things to do is to sit and really discover yourself. It's something that I had to do, to rediscover myself, and to like really pay close attention, to be really honest. And and sometimes when I talk about this in the past, like I've done a thing where I talk about, where do we learn our values and morals from? It's such a tough, multi-layered question. Exactly. What's up, Deja? That's exactly right. I'd love to get into that too more. It's a whole historical trickle-down thing. We are the products of the previous sets of ideas. I used to hear the phrase like, everything happens for a reason, and I used to think that was something where you look at something and you project it forward and you say this is happening for the future. But I also think there's a way to look at it from like the past. It's like this is happening as a result of prior things. Everything happens for those reasons. It's helpful to look back. But where was I? Quite often when I talk about this thing about like finding yourself and understanding yourself, I look and I go, because this is something that really like governed me a lot. It helped me a lot to look at it and then find the things I didn't like and change it. So I talk about change. I talk about change when in fact I think before that is acceptance. It's like you take a good look at yourself and acknowledge who it is and what you want, and see the difference between you and all of these norms, these social. Let's see this for a second. It is literally denying your ancestors, your parents' morals, going against everything that has formed you to find the truth. That's right, D. I can't tell if you see that as a negative or a positive. I think that, the things that the ancestors did their work to understand the truth within their context, that is their specific plot of land and their specific time period and the ideas that they grappled with, that they inherited. So I hope, in terms of going against anything, I don't think we're going against. I think we build on, I think we stand on the shoulders of amazing giants and people who tried to understand the truth within what was possible for them, and we are here, because of them, and it's our job to continue the challenge. So yes, I think grace, kindness, understanding, understanding it further still can have grace, but to understand it and see the ways that it was imperfect, grace can be in that. But what I wanted to say is, dag, I lost myself here on this. So I'm trying to read these things. This is awesome. Thank you so much, you guys, for participating here. Deja, kindness for them and you. Kara, so I think we have to decide that we deserve abundance, and then abundance of what kind? Yeah. Abundance of what kind? Tell me more about that, Kara. Let's do that. Let me get comfortable in this. Let me see what this whole, now that y'all are live, let me see if I can chat with y'all. So tell me more about what you mean with abundance of what kind. I think you have to define what it means. You have to allow yourself the space to define it, to know that some of the prior definitions aren't yours. They aren't necessarily yours, you know? But that's a challenge. That's really, it can be difficult to do that. You know, I have an interesting story. So this is interesting. So I'm gonna just put out straight away. The TV show RuPaul's Drag Race is an amazing show. I don't care what you think. It's amazing. Okay? You want to see talented men do a difficult thing and do it well at an elite level? That's the show. Okay? Along with the NFL. I am at a double date with my girlfriend. This is years ago. At a double date with my girlfriend, and there's another couple on the other end, and we're all friends, and my girlfriend and the other girl start talking about RuPaul's Drag Race, okay? And I had to choose, this is me thinking about the future now, right? I had to choose whether I could, like, engage in that conversation, you know, in the way that I would comfortably, someone who knows that show, who's watched several seasons because it's a dope show. And instead of doing that, you know, I noticed that the dude's here, and I started to have a conversation with him about football. You know, it's like, just to accept that, to notice that was the difficulty, and to accept it and to say, and to ask myself, like, what does it mean that I did that? I chose to perform a kind of masculinity to this person, as opposed to choosing to perform a genuine truth, to have a conversation, to engage in, you know, to talk about whatever. It took me a while to notice that and to just accept it and say, well, what are the reasons for that? Well, I didn't want to like engage in a whole conversation, you know what I'm saying, about like to assert my straight cisgender masculinity in another way. Be like, well, you know, blah, blah, have to do a whole thing. Or do I just avoid it and have a conversation about football? I think that's such a weird little story that you can kick that out of my brain. It's like, that's just an event. It's a random event. But I think things like that are great tells, you know? So sometimes when I say shit like, you know, paying attention, I mean stuff like that, you know, to notice these subtle choices. It tells me, you know, what am I trying to be comfortable in? What's comfortable for me? And why, you know, and to just own it. So that's a weird story that randomly came out. Yeah, there is many layers in that, you know what I mean? To think about who I think I'm trying to perform, what to think, like, you know, these assumptions in the room. I think a lot of dudes can attest to this. Maybe not directly with RuPaul's Drag Race, but with these kinds of like, these different demographics and like how we show up. But you know what would make it, like, another way to make that story way better was if I was who I am now, who has done the work really to really kind of be comfortable in myself, like to know that I can perform a nuanced version of this, right? I'm a masculine man, black man in America, and I don't need to fit in a specific pole. I can be comfortable in myself. So a lot of the anxiety that existed at that moment that caused me to kind of not engage in a conversation is me limiting myself, you know? That's an interesting reflection that occurred a couple years ago. So to me, that's what it is. You know, human flourishing connects me closer to myself. It allows me to be the nuanced individual that I am. And I think a lot of what's happening, oh man, how many minutes are we on this? I'll just keep going. See new people, what's going on. I think a lot of the stuff that's happening in the world today is a lot of this. People, for one reason or another, are shedding some of the poles, those requirements, you know, the ways of thinking where this is it, the black and white ways of thinking about what a person is, what a woman is, what a guys, and there's all kinds of directions this could go here, but I think we're having a restructuring of our conversation about what it means to be a nuanced human. Okay, and so what it means to be a lady, so things around shame around sex and all that is being challenged as well, and that bothers people too, just like gender, just like all these things. Like we're having these more difficult and nuanced conversations about what we're expecting of each other. And that's what I think is interesting. Being yourself is undervalued. You make up the orchestra by playing your instrument. It takes us all to produce a song. Exactly. And I think it takes a lot of effort and confidence to come with your instrument, to come with your unique instrument. I love that orchestra analogy. That's huge and beautiful. But even in an orchestra, right, there are expected instruments. And if you come in with your ukulele or your what is that, accordion, you know what I'm saying, you might not be welcome in a certain orchestra. And so to come in with your ukulele anyway, come in with your joint anyway, like, I'm dope at this, I'm excellent at this. And that's what's crazy, is that we've been kind of structured in a way, and this is what chasing the bag does too, right? Because if chasing the bag doesn't produce generally innovation like that, to come in as an individual, it's a lot of like algorithm chasing. It's a lot of, it's like finding the formula versus coming in authentic, come in clean slate. This is me. Hey, Deja, I find that being yourself is simultaneously the easiest and hardest thing to do. Exactly. That's why I see Deja and Kara out here having a fucking moment. I love it. And I agree with both of y'all. It's a difficult thing. But I think it's valuable because we're in this weird, like, we're in an interesting time. And I think this phase that we're going through and the next phase will require more of this. It will require, because not only is it helpful when I am able to actualize my best self and achieve human flourishing as defined by me, but the process of doing that is incredibly valuable, right? The empathy that happens naturally, we're gonna need more of that, I think. And that's what that is a really interesting value and a way of thinking about yourself in this world that produces different actions and different choices, I think, every day. I'd say over the last almost a decade, I've been really actively interested in this and working towards it and trying to shape myself with this idea in mind of flourishing, of thinking about who I could be, who I want to be, and then actively trying to do it and trying to define it for myself. And it's been huge. And I've navigated stuff and had success in here and there, and I've also been myself, and I've been happy, and I was able to find a wife who gets me fully. It's like I wrote a thing about sort of the way this works. I've created by making those choices in pursuit of flourishing, you create a world around you that is actually in service of that. Is actually in service of you. And if you make other choices, then you create a world that's in service of that. And then you might end up stuck performing those things because the incentives are all that. But you created that. You did this, and you showed the world that you incentivize this, and you showed the world that these are the things that you value, or that this is who you are. So I don't have much more to say on that, guys. Damn, I'm getting a bunch of hearts. Love it. Thank you. Grace, we all want to be accepted and loved. Yes, we all want to be accepted and loved. And that's huge. And that's why I think we have to be accepting of each other and accepting of the fact that we're all going through these very same things. The process of understanding it for oneself naturally produces empathy, just straight away. So I love y'all. Thanks very much for watching. I don't know how long this journey is. Deja, thank you very much. Kara, thank you very much. Merk, thank you very much. Thank you for all the comments, man. Dag, this is awesome. I appreciate this very much, guys. Have a great day. Till next time. Thanks, bro.